friends ever since.
So recently I had to head out to Southeast Asia with work. I knew that this was going to be an especially long journey involving 3 different flights, one of which clocked in at something ludicrous like 15 hours. This seemed though like the perfect time to really make the most of my newly refurbished iPod Classic, which if you watch the channel you'll know I've been using instead of my phone to listen to music on for the past few months. Normally when I'm traveling, I always take a pair of big, comfortable, over-ear, noise-cancelling headphones that I can just kind of disappear into on long journeys. However, this time I was flying with Cathay Pacific and they've got a really tight hand luggage allowance of about 7 kilograms, which is really not very much at all, especially considering you know, I always like to pack at least a couple of cameras. I was deliberately going out a bit early so that I could spend time on my own roaming the streets before work started, taking pictures and trying out this new Blazer anamorphic lens adapter that I'd picked up, which turned out actually to be quite a lot of fun. Despite wanting to keep the weight of my bag down, I also didn't want to compromise on audio quality, so I began to consider just taking a pair of in-ear monitors with me. These have come a long way in recent years and are actually pretty great for travelling with. They're very lightweight and portable. They provide a lot of sonic isolation from the outside world due to the way they fit into your ear canal, and what's more, you can also sleep on your side with these much easier than you would with a pair of over-ear headphones, which is great when you're trying to sleep in the plane or, you know, I don't know, get over jet lag when you get to your destination. On top of that, IEMs also importantly can sound really great as well, providing of course that you get a decent set. Now, since I was only going to be taking 1 pair of headphones on this trip, I wanted to make sure that I didn't get stuck with just, you know, any old crappy IEMs. So I got in touch with Linso, a company that really knows their stuff when it comes to in-ear monitors, and asked if they'd anything new that they could recommend for that use case. In response, they sent me over this pair of IEMs from a company called 7Hz, which are named Timeless 2, and these apparently have got 14.5mm planar magnetic drivers in them, so they're pretty special. I gave them a bit of a road test with Aphex Twin before I headed out, and I was pretty pleasantly surprised to find that they had some really nice deep bass that wasn't muddy or overwhelming. The frequency response range is suitably wide, going from something like 5 up to 40,000 Hz, and the impedance is just 15 ohms, meaning that they're dead easy to drive and you don't require a separate DAC or anything like that. The nature of in-ear monitors means that they aren't wireless or Bluetooth, which actually suits me perfectly since I'm primarily using these with my iPod and my Dirty Wave M8 while travelling. The cable itself is detachable and is this kind of multi-stranded thing, which is a bit thicker but also stiffer than others I've tried in the past. Most importantly though, it also has this semi-rigid area around the earpiece which keeps it fitted around your ear. To be honest, I would prefer if it was a wee bit more rigid, but hey, what are you going to do? Everybody has their own preferences for rigidity, as it were. One interesting feature about these is that the cable is interchangeable 3.5mm and 4.4 terminator plugs, which you connect up and are secured with a screw-in metal piece. This is a pretty cool idea, though it does mean that the connector itself is pretty bulky. It sticks out a fair bit from your iPod or the plain TV or whatever, and that isn't quite as practical as I might like. I kept worrying that it would snap off inside, you know, inside the thing because I would bump it the wrong way. But that's kind of a minor thing compared to the other qualities of these. The IEMs came with this really nice metal case, which is a screw-off lid that kind of reminds me of a grinder, but I decided to leave this at home because it was pretty substantial, and the weight of that would kind of defeat the point of taking the IEMs to keep my hand luggage weight down, as nice as it was. Now, the ear tips that you use with in-ear monitors really make a significant difference to the sound. You have to make sure that you get a good seal in your ear for a start, and I was pleased because of that to see that these particular ones came with a whole selection of tips to play with, so to speak. So throughout the trip, I was swapping these out and experimenting to see which ones sounded best and also fit nicely in my ear. My favourites by far were a set which had a red core, and they have that kind of sticky liquid silicone feel. They're a bit larger and longer than other pairs I've tried, meaning that the IEMs sit a bit further out from your ear, but they're also especially comfortable, provide a good seal, and also do something to the acoustics which I can't really explain, but which I quite like. On top of that, another interesting thing about these IEMs is that they come with a selection of nozzles which are screwed onto this metal plate, which you can take off and switch out to fine tune the frequencies. This is a great feature for folks that are using these as actual in-ear monitors for playing live, because it means you can pick the one that most suits your voice or instrument. I've played about with all of them, but I've still got to decide which ones I like best for casual use. I think it's pretty easy to get a bit too obsessive about that kind of thing, so I'm doing my best to resist that. But the kind of, standout takeaway, I guess, for me has been that overall the sound is very balanced with any of the nozzles, and I never felt like any of the frequencies were especially harsh or fatiguing like they easily can be with others. And that seems like such a strange thing to say, but I was able to sit and listen to music for hours with these on my long plane journey without ever getting tired, which is pretty important, I think. At this point, I think I've been pretty won over by IEMs in general. Not only can they sound great with a really immersive experience, but they're also just so convenient, and these ones in particular are really quite nice. I love how the case mirrors the earpieces themselves, both in terms of the shape, but also the kind of pyramid texture that's on there. They feel really solid and classy and premium, and to be honest, whilst I'd assumed at first glance that they might not be all that comfortable because of their circular design, they actually fit my ear very ergonomically and also look pretty cool as well. I've got a few gigs lined up in the coming months, and so whilst I was away I spent a chunk of time writing tracks on my Dirty Wave M8. First on the plane, then whilst I was out and about sitting in parks, letting the world go by whilst I was in my own wee universe. And to be honest, I don't think I would have bothered doing that as much if I had to lug about my over-ear headphones. The sound quality of the in-ear monitors also meant I could actually compose properly and hear, the frequencies in the music as opposed to using just standard earbuds or, whatever else. If you're interested in hearing any of the stuff I wrote in full, it's available over on the Patreon. It has the stems and the bundles and the samples and all that stuff. But if you'd rather hear it in person, keep an eye out on my Instagram, because I'll be posting the dates and venues on there as they come up. And I'll be starting with Lancaster in just a couple of weeks, which might not be as exotic as Southeast Asia perhaps, but I'm sure it'll be a good time anyway.